prioritize as well.
I mean, you have to make a decision here. Indonesia's already made theirs. They're not banning out the
Kita
high
lanjut
in the first
guys
phase, so
di
there's definitely a
game
lot of
kedua.
opportunity for Turkey to go
Indonesia
for it, and then there's
versus
not much that Indonesia can
Turki.
do other than just draft themselves to counteract it, and they already kind of did in the previous game with heroes like the Lunox. So since the
First pick
bans are going to
Gatot
be
Kaca.
exactly the same from game 1,
Jusin
so are
di
the
ban
picks.
Iesf, Hilda,
Oh wow, Gatot Kaca
Baxia,
again being
Lunox,
the first
Grok.
pick. Turkey. People say that if it's not broken, don't fix it. But then again, I kind of feel like Team Turkey has some things that they can actually switch around here for the second phase. Maybe can actually try steal away some of the players like you talked about, how Lancelot, kind of a really good option right here. Even the fact that if they do give away for Indonesia to take down, it might not be a good decision coming in from Team Turkey. So take away that Lancelot, it might actually have a chance for Team Turkey to turn things around.
Yeah, I think so. That is definitely a possibility.
Oh,
And yes, they
Lancelot.
do actually steal the Lancelot away, so I'm very interested to see how well they will perform there. Kujo has already demonstrated the micro mechanics on the Haya, but we get to see the same things on the Lance. Esme seems to be a high priority pick for them though.
Esmeralda, I think pretty much we did saw how much of the sustainability that was done by Esmeralda, so
Lunox.
they don't want to actually change up that. But at the same time, Lunox was well done in the hands of Shini, so no need to change pretty much the way how she was able to immobilize as well as moving around the circle for the team fight with Team Turkey itself. Indonesia knows for a fact that they can play against them again and again.
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility. Lunox is still going to be very good here because it is a counter to the Esmeralda. Hopefully, Turkey does have some way of handling that because they're trading assassins now. Hayabusa gonna drop in the hands of Vival.
Okay, a switch of assassin jungler coming in between the two teams, Indonesia and Turkey. But here's the thing. We did saw how amazing Lancelot here in the hands of Indonesia, how Vival was doing amazing job with the puncher coming in for the diving composition as well. The question is, Turkey, once you actually steal that away, can you actually put out a really good fight? And they did actually prioritize players such as Kaja to actually put out on the second phase, but are they going to actually put out another hero to be for the tank? Why is it going to be Kalea for the pick-off hero?
That's interesting right there. Kalea gonna be making her debut here in WEC. I thought that it would be fine for Turkiye to go for the Kaja for the second time. This they seem quite comfortable for Nora. But looks like they want to focus a bit more onto that mid lane. Compared to Kaja, Kalea has better lane sustainability, so it's easier to trade with her at level 1. If they're going for this option, I'm ideally hoping to see a more burst-based mid laner like the Farsa.
Kind of true though, yeah. Definitely those are the priorities that we did right here for Turkey because Angela-wise, it's not really particularly good for the lineup itself, especially the fact that we saw she did amazing for the first round. But then again, coming in for this lineup, I think they will prioritize a different kind of mid laner in the side. For the facing of our banning on second side, we do see Ruby being taken out. I offended when we saw how it was done by Indonesia. They drag off one after another players from Turkey, and it gives so much of the separation. End up their team fight was scattered around by Team Indonesia. But at the same time, Indonesia prioritized Kadita.
Indonesia is probably going to start banning out mid laners here again. If you have a Kalea, you're probably looking at a burst mid laner. So Farsa, Kadita, the heroes that can instantly 100 to 0. An opponent is going to work out very well since Kalea has very long-term single targets. C. Wouldn't be surprised if Indonesia decides to get rid of Farsa as well, just to reduce the risk they have to deal with in the mid lane.
Yep, definitely. Those are the priorities that is going to be looking for on the side of Indonesia. But at the same time, we see Xbox yet again been banned off by Team Turkey. We know for a fact that Xbox coming off for the front line, you can actually burst out, definitely explode right in the face of your enemy. So those are the crucial things that Team Turkey trying to make sure that to avoid it off. But it's not going to be Farsa, it's going to be Kimi, because again, we talked about how Kimi, when it was used by Team Malaysia itself for the first series, great basic attacks. Once you already had the stacks itself, it bursts out each and every, it kind of actually melts away every health line in the hands of your opponent. So Kimi-wise is actually quite good as well with the Treacherous Ball as well to actually hold down your positioning, grabbing the players as well. So Indonesia trying to make sure that those are the two crucial mid laners they want to avoid it all.
So getting rid of the more annoying poke scaler rather than the artillery burst mage. I guess Indonesia feels that they can handle Farsa a bit more easily because that will indeed get locked in by Turkiye here. And that means that you can see the Kalea Farsa combo. Anyone they catch, as long as they're squishy enough, will just go down instantly.
And the fact that it opened up the opportunity for Team Turkey to get the Farsa as well. So great burst coming off for the damage as well. High ground wise also will be covered up by the Team Turkey as well. And this is where the front line, I feel like now Turkey is expanding even more, making sure that they can cover a lot of the grounds here when it comes to the team fight with Team Indonesia. Team Indonesia, they still kind of figure out like whether or not they want to actually go in for the goal lane that we saw, like, you know, are they going to, because they've already been banned out by Ruby, but it seems that Harith will be open for them to take, and as well as Lapu-Lapu will be a steal here in the hands of Indonesia.
This is very interesting. Revealing the Harith here makes sense on paper since Indonesia can afford to go for a more damage-oriented build in order to deal with the pick-off comp coming out of their opponents. However, Turkiye can flex this Esme into the gold lane, and then that would give Harith a bit more of a difficult time. In fact, I expect them to do so and then pick up a different hero to match up against the Lapu-Lapu.
That they can actually counter it off, or is that going to be another case for Team? Somehow, I feel like they might actually go with that strategy. And I can no, they don't. They ended up actually picking off Granger instead. So Granger's gonna meet off with Harith. I mean, I like the idea that you had instead, but now it seems that they're just playing off with their own books of their own signature, or how do I say, comfort of their own self.
Yeah, looks like both teams are going back to basics here.
Yeah.
Very traditional lineup on both sides. Good scaling. Early game is probably slightly weaker on the Indonesia side, so that is a gap that Team Turkiye might be able to take advantage of if they play it correctly. But even if they don't, their late game scaling is not too bad either. So as long as things go according to plan, we shouldn't see a very quick game here.
Yeah, I think Indonesia's gonna actually play it off a little bit slow this time. And this is where the fine line we talked about, how these two teams are very disciplined. There was a lot of back and forth done for the first round of the second series. So going off for the second round itself, looking to see like if it's going to be the same case. But here on out, that's done for the draft. Let's go in for our second round of this second series between Indonesia versus Turkey.
Indonesia currently one game up, one victory away from securing clean sweep and looking much more comfortable about their chances of moving straight on into the playoffs. Can Team Turkiye once again show why they are a considerable dark horse in the Mlbb ecosystem?
Okay, if they want to play it off a little bit slow right now, it can give a little bit of chance for Team Turkiye, that the fact that they can actually play around for that scaling phase. But at the same time, somehow, Nora, they don't for a fact with the Kalea in the hands. She can actually just mess around just a little bit in the early runs.
I think what we are probably going to see in terms of early game pressure will most likely come out of Team Turkiye here. Because once again, it's the Kalea Farsa combo along with a Lancelot means that their mid trio is actually pretty strong. They can gank side lanes, they can get pickups. It will be a bit difficult to do so in the goal lane because Shell does have that Purify, but they're still going to try and put some pressure there.
They definitely trying to make sure that they can have the opening wave. They can actually have a way for them to just break off the composition coming off from Team Indonesia itself. But so far right now, I do feel like Team Indonesia kind of can read the strategy that is done by Turkiye as well. So they are playing it a little bit safe as well. The movement coming off from CD, but here, Nora again with a Blade Breaker every single time.
I really like Vivian's positioning there, putting herself in the bush because they know that if this Kalea Farsa moves around without being scouted, it spells disaster for any of their side lanes, even going to see the entire mid trio around the turtle.
I like the fact that you keep on
Turtle
opening
pertama,
the whole entire map itself so they can just expose every location of Team Indonesia. But here and now, it's going to be the
Aduh,
first
bebek
turtle
kaca
and
yang
the fight
nggak
going
selamat.
to begin.
Comes in, they get the knockup. Vivian gonna be forced to use the revitalize.
Masih
Katok still
bisa.
very tanky. Here comes the backline dives, and they are gonna be the first one to go down to Fumi Echo with the bravest fighter. First blood to Team Indonesia.
No.
And now we can see
Unohana.
Esmeralda just left alone, trying to survive as long as possible.
Oh.
Flicker forward, Cine finishes off Unohana, and they're still not done. Fumi Echo is still trying to disrupt the purple buff and slow down Kujo.
I mean, Unohana was just a little bit too long staying into that positioning to a point that it was easy for Indonesia to just steal her away. The question-wise for Team Turkey, they cannot be too much of the dedication to play around with Team Indonesia. But somehow, there's going to be a 2-kill, but at the same time, you're going to go in all out with Miko as well.
Miko has to be very careful here. Harif is a hero that can full dive a Granger if you position wrongly. Oh, they found the Katal once again. Unohana, Vivian gonna be going
Aduh,
down since it
free.
is a
Free
4-mana
turtle.
dive. That's feathered airstrike damage.
Predator starts damage, nicely done, opening off with the wave breaker as well. Now, it seems that Turtle
Oh, the
Manabi
contest, the
actually teased
contest.
away. Will be
Echo.
denied immediately. Yup,
Up
Kujo
on
get it.
Kujo still secures the turtle, but they lose Nora in exchange. I think that is a trade they're willing to take.
Tapi ya
Yep,
bisa
they
dapat
definitely know
kalian
for a
sih.
fact that it is a sacrifice that is needed, but at least they'll be able to actually maintain the gap between each other with economy-wise as well. But again, it's not too far off for Team Indonesia as well as Turkey. Now, question is, how much more they can actually contain this positioning? Because again, yes, Indonesia is playing it slow, but as they scale off, it's not going to be good for Team Turkey.
Indonesia is gonna have very strong late game scaling,
Yeah.
but Turkiye is not too far behind as well, right? All of their DPS cores will still have pretty strong late game as well, especially Mieko on this Granger, as long as she doesn't lose too hard to the Harif in lane, and she does have the EXP advantage. So Turkiye is still doing a good job of making space for their core.
Agree, because the fact is we are seeing that Team Turkey is just denying every movement coming off from Team Indonesia. They're allowing that shell, but at the same time, this is going to be a composition steal away.
Slam onto the guitar. Revitalize comes out. Feather Strike this time not going to be quite enough to finish off Vivian. So she will survive.
Ooh, what a really good steal away, but then the follow-up was just not enough coming off from Team Turkey. And now Vivian was just going to be backing away, easily surviving that fight. And Unohana on the other again, kind of extending herself too much, too long, and now seeing...
Ooh, the flicker forward from Cine with the darkening. Again, this is why Lunox counters Esme. The damage is just so high.
The damage is just so high to a point that Unohana just caught off guard too many times to a point that the damage cannot be faltered. And now, moving on, they'll be able to clear out every single mini wave. They'll be able to control every single movement of Team Turkey. But here on Kujo with Fumieko.
And it's a 1v1 down here. We can see Kujo starting to do a good amount of damage. I
Oh,
don't think... Oh,
dapat
hold
itu,
on.
guys.
Cine comes in from the side. I don't think Kujo was expecting that one. The Landslot will go down. And the Brilliance even used to get Cine out. That's a perfect setup for Indonesia to start working on
Free
the turtle.
turtle buat Indonesia.
Great gang up, coming up for 2v1 right there. Turtle might be actually free it off, even with the zone coming up from Nora and Unohana.
Unohana tries jumping in, but Vival has the retribution, so it's going to be an easy turtle for Indonesia. And now Zendaya in trouble, but the Oki Shadow Kill misses. Vival missed time stat. So Zendaya gets out. The rest of Turkiye also going to be able to back off a little bit here. They need to clear one minion, and they will be able to do so. But the flicker forward, Tsunami Slam gets one catch. Revitalize comes out, so Nora goes down. Unohana can be traded as well. It's a double kill. Cine gets a full dive. Zendaya goes
sukanya baru
down.
jadi.
Vival finds the kill, backs it up as well. Indonesia instantly picks up 3 members of Turkiye.
3 members taken down immediately by Indonesia. Great diving in composition coming in from them. Despite, however, Team Turkey tried to defend that mid turret. Alongside right here, we do see Team Indonesia getting more and more frisky to a point that Turkey could not defend themselves.
Gotta be a bit more careful there. It was an initially good defense. Fumieko now in some trouble, but jumps into the minion wave to regen with the sustained Landshaker Raging Star. Fumieko has the flicker just to get away. Fumieko still surviving with the shields. Nora comes in from the side. So much effort just to take down this Lapu Lapu.
3 players come through, and even then, Shell able to take down,
dua
and now
kosong,
one more Zendaya will be able to be shut down by Sini as well, and they will move away without any casualty in their hands.
Cine is an absolute monster on this Lunox, 5-0 already. The goal lead slowly adding up as time goes on, and Turkiye losing their grasp over the map despite having a strong ganking combo. The rotations from Indonesia so far are very clean.
Very clean indeed, to a point that Team Turkey still couldn't find any answer for them to actually back off or even try to neutralize the situation. Now more and more turrets has already been shut down. Now they're getting into the second layer of the turret. Team Turkey trying to find a way for them to just stick around. 4 players. Wavebreaker will be open up for them to see every movement, but then they come through with Unohana.
Unohana jumps in first. Turkiye gonna realize, okay, there's more people there than expected, so we're not gonna full commit onto this, especially with the turtle coming up and a wave pushing up top as well. Indonesia setting up the macro in their favor.
Yeah, the macro's quite
Info
clean.
lancar di atas
Oh,
ya.
Nora comes through with a Wavebreaker.
It's very deep, Nora completely isolated. Beautiful play from Vival, dodges the Kalea entirely. Gets a free turtle. Nora now in
mati sih
complete
tuh kalian
no
itu.
man's land. But somehow still
nggak
managing to
dapet,
buy
kencang
time. The rest of
sekali
Turkiye not able to back her up though. They're being zoned out in the mid lane. So after everything, the Kalea is actually out.
I mean, at least she did survive it out, even though she had to rotate the whole entire map just to actually move away from Team Indonesia. But kind of great zoning coming off from Team Indonesia, the fact that they were able to actually scatter around Team Turkey. And now, again, from time to time, the objective-wise still goes in the favor of Team Indonesia. They know for a fact now, with the gap, 5,000 economy-wise is in their hands. Itemization definitely built up for Team Indonesia compared to Team Turkey.
Team Turkiye is going to need to put in some work here to make up the difference. But again, they do have a late game scaling composition, which means if they're able to get a little bit more itemization in, they can still match up to Indonesia despite the goal difference. And we can see they're heavily hovering around Mieko. But they're, oh my goodness, Vivo jumps right in. Gets the kill on the Granger in the middle of his entire team. And now Mieko is looking for another flicker wall with the Raging Slash. And Zendaya goes down. Nora now isolated once again. And Indonesia is going to make sure to chase her down this time.
Nope, Shell's gonna deny the movement. Yep, goes in for the Tsunami Slam, but Nora, unfortunately, will be tagged off by the 2 players. And again, she will be shut down immediately. Even if she did survive it out, but it's going to be a Sini's kill. But then again, they go in for Kujo as well as Unohana.
They're not able to find any more kills after that, but the damage is already lacking thanks to the missing piece that is Zendaya. Mid-tier 2 will fall. Feather Destroy comes out once again, but here comes the Shadow Kill. Meanwhile, with the mega kill again, Mieko is not allowed to survive.
Not allowed to even get into the baseline safely. That diving composition coming out from Vival with 402 KDA. No one can stop her at all. Previously, she was using Lancelot. Now with the Hayabusa, she's doing such a great composition, such a great movement, as well as clean sweep to a point that Team Turkey could not stop her.
Imbang
These
sih.
are the micro mechanics that have made Team
Tapi nggak mau
Indonesia the
dikontes
best
nih.
women's Mlbb team in the world for so long. And even though Team Turkey has so far been doing a good job trying to match up in terms of discipline, the gap in experience is starting to show itself.
Turkey, again, yes, the gap-wise is getting more bigger, not just for the economy-wise, the kill-wise. Indonesia dominating 13 kills to 2 kills from Turkey. This shows how much this is a different, big different compared to the first round itself. And with the Lord coming in right now, this is going to be the second one for the hands of Team Indonesia. They push out a lot of the minions from the bottom lane as well.
Nora jumps in, not gonna commit Tsunami Slam since that is going to be Vivian right there. Their attempted ambush on Vival did not work as well. You can see the really good presence of mind to check the bush with Quad Shadow first. And now Lord is going to be pushing in mid lane. 11 minutes in, it's a 9k goalie. Feather Destroy comes out first. AOG forces the cancel straight away. Vivian is inside the base, still tanking up with Revitalize. And Indonesia is full diving the towers. Tsunami Slam not able to do anything. Nora has to flicker away. The tower just goes down. And Indonesia, their defense cannot be stopped. They are steamrolling their way into the base of Team Turkiye. But they've run out of minions. The Lord will eventually fall. They'll go for another tower down bottom. Indonesia, this is where they made the mistake previously. Do they still want to force the engage?
Oh, but Kujo also trying to make sure that Team Indonesia does not go in. They try to go in for Nora, but there's the open.
Looks like they'll be able to get away from that one, but Indonesia hasn't given up just yet. They want one more tower. The final inhibitor standing for Team Turkiye. Bogey Shadow kill once again. Not going to be used this time, actually. Vival just zoning. And now the base of Team Turkiye is completely empty.
Empty, open for the side of Indonesia to end it all off if they can do it with this second lot. First lot was doing well just to break the whole entire inhibitor turrets. And even so, we do need to give a little bit of credit for Turkey because the defense-wise coming up from them was just great, but just still not enough for them to make sure that Team Indonesia doesn't fall down all of the turrets that is already in their baseline. The question is, can Turkey make something right here?
This is a fairly snowball-heavy meta, and as we can see, Turkiye is super far behind in terms of farm. It's already a 10k gold lead. And their late game scaling is nowhere close to coming online. This could already be a GG situation.
Turkey losing much of their momentum from the first game itself. And looking from how they were trying to actually control the positioning, and I know for a fact that we were hoping for Nora. Nora keep on trying to actually initiate, get the wave breaker. Soon after Slam tried to actually steal away Team Indonesia into the hands to make sure that they have a really good team fight. Ended up, the favorite comes in for Team Indonesia to just negate every single position. That's the Purify comes in from Shell itself, because no matter how much they try to steal away anyone from the Team of Indonesia, they will definitely neutralize it immediately now. This is gonna be the second launch.
The experience of this team showing itself. You can see the conceal just opening up the area around the river so quickly, and then instantly transitioning to a basically free Lord for Vival.
And the fact that, again, this is going to be maybe the last march that will be done by Team Indonesia if Team Turkey does not pull out every single stunt they have under their sleeve to guard out that crystal. So far, they are sticking up for themselves right here inside the grass, because I knew for a fact that maybe there's a possibility they might be able to do a surprise attack. But again, look at how Vivian, she's just opening every single grass, every single moment to make sure that Team Turkey cannot do a surprise attack.
Team Turkey cannot let this Lord collide with the flicker forward and take a first flicker. Miego still not able to escape, goes down. The Granger's already out of the equation. The Lord is dropping low with crystals and frozen. He's godlike and still diving all the way through. It's a triple kill, a maniac for Cine, and that marks the victory of Team Indonesia. Clean sweeping
Indonesia kalau bola itu ketemu luar negeri pasti kalah.
Clean sweep for the Team Malaysia. Now we have our neighbor country coming off for the clean sweep, especially the fact that they have that experience to.
Saya kok Mobile Legends masih menang.
Indonesia jumpa Kamboja.